So the Waratahs have taken out quarterfinal number 3. They've beaten the Highlanders 30 points to 23. 2 tries to Foley and 1 to Falau. For the Highlanders, it was 1 to Naholo and 1 to Thompson. Just in terms of general entertainment, comparing this to all the other quarterfinals now that I've seen the final one as well, this one probably had the most. It had a big comeback, and you didn't know who the winner was going to be right up until the end. Like the Highlanders could have equalised right on the 80th minute. So just in terms of pure entertainment, this one probably takes the cake. The Waratahs looked pretty ordinary in the first half. And to be fair, the crowd looked pretty ordinary as well. It's hard to say, like comparing it to the crowd in Christchurch, because Allianz is a much bigger stadium than what was down in Christchurch. But it still looked pretty sparsely attended. It's one of the few grounds I've actually been to see a Super Rugby game. And I remember that the kind of central sections are members sections. So it looked like there was good attendance in those sections, but in kind of the fringes where it's just, general admission kind of thing, not quite as good, which is a pity because it's a team which hasn't had a Super Rugby finals match for a while. But like I say, it's a bigger stadium, so there may have actually been a decent crowd, but it just looked poor on camera. I'm not sure. Either way, the crowd looked ordinary on camera, and the Tars looked super ordinary in that first half. The Highlanders were just on the ball, like literally at the breakdown. They were just dominating, getting all kinds of penalties. They went out to, well, the Waratahs got the early lead with the penalty, then the Highlanders equalised, Tars another penalty, and then it was just all Highlanders. They scored a couple of tries, and it was 23 points to 6 at half time. And it was looking like at the end of the road for the Waratahs. Like Falau had some shoddy pass that went forward by a mile, and it just was terrible. They had a 5-metre line out in Highlanders territory that just didn't go straight. And in the second half, Foley kicked the ball up. I think it was Hannigan's backside when he was trying to clear. It was just like bad. And all the talk about the Waratahs being kind of the easy ones in the playoffs, and how, if you ended up facing the Waratahs instead of any other team, you were getting the easier draw. Like the Chiefs got a harder draw despite having a higher ranking than the Highlanders. All that was starting to ring true. And then Naholo got a yellow card. Like, I'm not sure if there has been a more costly yellow card in Super Rugby this season. Like, some teams concede 7, maybe 14 when they've got a man in the bin. But the Highlanders conceded 21 unanswered points while Naholo was in the bin. And that's unbelievably costly. I've seen a fair few fans kind of turning a bit on Naholo. He's been a really good servant for the Highlanders, so it is a pity that he made a pretty poor choice in his tackle. But it's not his fault, down to the point that he wasn't on the field when the team conceded 21 points. We've kind of seen that kind of thing from the Sunwolves when they had a red card last week, and you kind of expect it a bit. With the Highlanders, you don't expect that one man is going to make such a difference. The Waratahs just cut them to bits. And it was interesting that when they had a yellow card, they had the man advantage anyway, the Waratahs, when attacking, chose to tap and run when they got a penalty, because I thought that's smart. A lot of teams would have gone for a scrum. I know it's different when a winger's in the bin. Like, you don't really have that forward advantage, but a lot of teams would like to tie up all their opposition players in one area. The Waratahs tapped it, and I thought in terms of time management, that's smart. A lot of teams don't do that. They go for the scrum or they go for a set piece, but it all takes time. And when you've got a yellow card, if you're going to pack down a scrum, you're at least sacrificing kind of a minute or two of that yellow card. But the Waratahs went for a tap, and that was part of the reason that allowed them to still have enough time to get 3 tries during that yellow card. So it was pretty crazy. There were a few late hits in this game on both Sopawanga and Beale. I know some fans not happy with that. I think, to be honest, the ref handled it pretty well. He could have dished out yellow cards, or he could have just warned the teams, which he ended up doing. So I think there's nothing really doing there. Obviously, if it had continued, he was gonna yellow card people. Waratahs ended up getting a yellow card towards the end. but the Highlanders not able to capitalise with the man advantage. Frizzell was kind of agonisingly short, and Ryan went to the bin. But yeah, quite a game. 30 points to 23. The Waratahs now have a trip to Johannesburg to play the Lions, so that is going to be very tough, especially as their last outing against the Lions didn't go very well at home. For the Highlanders, that's the end of the road. It's been a season really epitomised by that failure to win away. At home, they just look such a good team, but away, they just struggle at times. And I mean, to be fair, for most of this game, they looked pretty good. But that second half, the wheels just kind of came off. It was nice to see when Michael Wells kind of took a knock to the head and just looked groggy and virtually unconscious. One of the first people on the scene was the Highlanders doctor. So that was a nice moment to see that he was kind of... He didn't end up doing much, but he was the first just to check that he was all right and then kind of move on once the Waratahs medical staff arrived. But that was just kind of a cool moment. Ben Smith seemed pretty gutted. Gutted for Lima Sopoaga and just gutted for the boys. So it's a pity for the Highlanders that they got to go out. It means no New Zealand final. But I guess that keeps things a bit fresh. But yeah, it was a pretty good effort for the season. Just a few away results kind of cost them in terms of not being able to get a home finals match. For the Tars and I guess for Aussie Rugby, it's a pretty good win. It kind of just gives a bit more of that feel-good feeling. Back to Aussie Rugby, and there's still potential that you get an Aussie team in the final. They've got a pretty long road to do it on a trip to Johannesburg, but yeah, overall, Rugby is the winner on the day with an entertaining game. And yeah, what did you guys think of the game? And I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.